Hey everyone, Coach Elliott here with FasCat Coaching. Today we're walking through your Leadville 100 nutrition plan mile by mile. This course is no joke, 105 miles, 12,000 feet of climbing, and it all happens above an altitude of 10,000 feet. If you want to finish strong and race fast, you're going to need a dialed fueling plan, and we're going to help you out with that. So let's break it down with this visual guide. This plan is built around NeverSecond products, specifically the C30 gel and the C30 mix. For the mix, we're going to use 2 servings in each bottle to make a total of 60 grams and an overall carbohydrate intake targeting between 90 to 113 grams per hour, depending on your finish time. This targets a minimum of 24 fluid ounces an hour and 60 grams per bottle, which is a really great carbohydrate to fluid ratio for easy gut absorption, which is really critical at altitude. We're going to plan for a ballpark of 900 grams of total carbs over the duration of the day. And that's going to be broken down into 10 gels, 30 grams each. So 300 grams total through that. And then we're going to have a total of 240 ounces of hydration. That's going to be 10 bottles with 60 grams each, 600 grams. You're going to need to think through your fueling logistics and how many carbs you want in fluid form versus how many you're going to want in gels. There's individuality with this, and the NeverSecond system makes it really easy to adjust. So practice this now in training so that you can find out what works for you and what is proven on race day. With this fueling protocol, we have some examples of finish times and your fueling rates. So a finish time of 10 hours is going to be a fueling rate of 90 grams an hour. 9 hours is 100 grams an hour, and 8 hours is 113 grams an hour. Obviously, there are going to be a lot of riders out there beyond those finish times, under those finish times too. However, this just gives you an idea, and there's probably a bulk of our riders who are going to be in that bell curve between 8 to 10 hours on Leadville. Before we get into the specific plan, let's talk about the checkpoints. So for the sake of ease, we're going to use the outward bound checkpoint at mile marker 25 and 79, and then Twin Lakes Dam at mile marker 41 and 63. This makes things pretty simple for your support crew. They travel to Outward Bound for the first feed. Then they head to Twin Lakes, where you will pass by twice, both before and after Columbine. And then they will head back to Outward Bound for the final feed. As a racer, keep in mind that there are more aid stations on this course, so you can get support and fluids and fuel if needed. This is just the easiest strategy for your support crew. With that done, let's walk through the course and dissect where to eat and drink. So the fueling strategy here is fairly simple and consistent. We're going to try to go through 2 bottles between each checkpoint. So when you consider 2 start bottles and 4 checkpoints, 10 bottles total, we want to go through all of those the best you can throughout the course of the day. This might be tough at times. However, if you try your best to adhere to this protocol, especially early when it's going to be cool, if not cold, it's going to pay dividends later in the day. Let's get into the course specifically now. So the first chunk, the start to the first checkpoint, is going to include the St. Kevin's climb and the Sugarloaf climb. You're going to start with 2 bottles, and it's going to be early, it's going to be cold, it might be dark, and it's a priority to stay on top of fueling here. Set reminders in your computer if you need. You're going to go through your first gel around the beginning of the Sugarloaf climb on the pavement. So this is the second climb of the day. Sugarloaf starts with a nice gradual pavement before turning onto the dirt, and that is a perfect spot to take your gel. We're going to take a second gel around the checkpoint at mile 25-ish, whether it's right before or immediately after. You're going to hit that's outward bound, and that's where you're going to do the first handoff with your crew. A little reminder here, again, this is critical to start drinking and fueling early. Altitude blunts thirst and appetite, but you need to fuel early because this is a really long day. In addition to that blunting, it is also going to be cold. It's not uncommon for the starting temperature of Leadville to be 35, 40 degrees. And it's really hard in those scenarios to stay on top of fueling sometimes. The next section, mile 24 to 40, is going to include pretty much all of the flat and rolling sections into Twin Lakes. This is going to be really fast. There will probably be big groups, and it could be a little easy to miss some fueling. But do your best, prioritize sipping the bottles, and try to take at least one gel somewhere in this stretch between the checkpoints wherever you deem it appropriate and you feel comfortable doing so. The next section of the course, arguably the queen section, is going to include the Columbine climb and descent, roughly mile 40 to 60 in between Twin Lakes checkpoints 2 and 3. This is not just a big climb, but it is also a very big energy expenditure. So I want you to hydrate consistently and try to do your best to get through at least one bottle on the climb and take a big sip or chug before descending, because it's going to be a little while to get down that descent without fueling. For your gels and your food, take one gel towards the bottom of Columbine and another towards the top. The likelihood is there's going to be at least 60 minutes in between those. So making sure to take at least 2 is going to be really helpful. Another gel right before or through Twin Lakes checkpoint around mile 60. You're going to do that handoff mile 63. And then you're going to be on your way back through the kind of pipeline section, of course, the flat rolling miles. These are roughly miles 60 to 80. Again, this section is going to be fast. It's rolling, so do your best to stay on top of fueling. It's also getting late in the day. There's some fatigue setting in. Anything that you do now is also going to help set you up well for the next big climb coming up, which is Powerline and the final miles of the race. Try to get a gel in 45 to 60 minutes after the Twin Lakes checkpoint. Again, somewhere in this stretch that you feel comfortable, and try to go through both bottles on this stretch. You're going to take your next gel around the checkpoint near mile 79, 80-ish. And it could be a good time for a caffeine gel because you're going to be hitting the bottom of Powerline climb very soon. Reminder that this is your last interaction with your support crew until the finish. So take an extra minute or 2 and make sure you have everything that you need. Do you want some water? Is it getting hot? Do you want some ice? Do you want to grab an extra bottle? Make sure to leave the checkpoint with it. Another good tip is it's getting later in the day. It's getting hot. It's getting warm. It could be a good idea at this point to start increasing the sodium content in your bottles. NeverSecond makes a great product for this. It's called the S200 booster. Each little capful has an additional 200 milligrams of sodium. And if this is something that you have practiced in training in the weeks before, it could be a good idea here because the sweat rate and the temperatures are going to go up. All right, we're nearing the final miles here. Make or break. We're climbing Powerline. If you did a really good job fueling for the last few hours, you're going to be able to continue to push through and keep the power up here. That's going to be critical for your overall speed and finish time. You're going to descend after Powerline, and you're going to hit that same pavement section at the bottom of Sugarloaf that you did at the very beginning of the race. And that's, again, a great place to take a gel. It's going to be about mile 90, and could be another good time for a caffeine gel. In this stretch, try to finish at least one bottle and get started on your last, because you have the final 10, 15 miles of racing coming up, the final hour, and we want to finish strong here. We've got the final push. Despite this section being mostly flat, it can definitely be a slog. You're tired. You've been out there for a long day. It's hot. It even takes the fastest pros 20 to 25 minutes for those final miles after you come off of the last descent. Great place to take a gel, because there's still deceivingly a lot of pedaling left and a pretty solid uphill drag back into town. That is going to get you to the finish. That's going through 10 bottles, 10 gels. You can tune that to your preference. However, that's your 900 gram fueling strategy for Leadville. Some final tips and takeaways here. Eat early, drink consistently, vary the flavors, or consider unflavored mix and gels. This will help prevent palate fatigue over a long day. You can set computer alerts to help stay on track. You can do this based off of distance. So you can set a reminder, for example, at mile 25, take a gel. It can be cool, it can be cold in the beginning, and you do not want to fall behind there. So the computer alerts and just the reminder to drink consistently will help a lot. Stick to your plan, practice this in training, and use the checkpoints to reload bottles and gels. You can use musettes if it's helpful to get all your fueling at once, 2 bottles, but make sure to practice this. Loaded musettes are very heavy, and I'm sure you have seen feed zone crashes from the tour, and we do not want to replicate that. Another option, if you're not as comfortable with that, or bottles, is a hydration pack. This is a great option. Make sure to practice this transition too, because that can be tricky. If you are doing a hydration pack, you can skip the outward bound checkpoint and just do your handoff at Twin Lakes. Start with the pack. You can drop it off at Twin Lakes, because we don't want to take that up Columbine maybe with that extra weight, and grab a bottle or 2 to head up the climb. Have your crew refill it and then pick it back up on your second pass through Twin Lakes to head back into town. If you go with this strategy, we'd want to look for about 100 fluid ounces in each pack and 240 grams of the NeverSecond C30, which is going to be 4 scoops. Very important to practice this plan on your long rides so that race day is not the first time. If you follow this plan, you're going to finish strong and you're going to have a great race. If you want help customizing this for your exact finish time or adding sodium and hydration tweaks, check out the CoachCat app or hit us up at FasCat Coaching. I'm Coach Elliott, and that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Share this with someone racing Leadville. And if you found this helpful, comment if you have any questions, and remember to ride hard, fuel smart, and as we say, don't bonk, FTFP. Thanks.